And the House Oversight Committee holding a hearing today titled Influence Peddling, Examining Joe Biden's Abuse of Public Office. The hearing is part of the House impeachment inquiry into the president for allegedly using his political influence to enrich his family members. Today marked the beginning of the evidence examination phase of that inquiry. And our Washington correspondent Louise Martinez joins us now live from Capitol Hill. Good evening, Louise. So today the GOP-led House Oversight Committee invited Hunter Biden and his former business associates, Devon Archer, Tony Bobulinski, and Jason Galanis. Hunter Biden and Devon Archer declined to participate in this hearing. During their opening remarks, Bobulinski and Galanis reiterated their claims. Tell us exactly what happened.
Well, yes, good evening, Steve. Today, the Republican-led House Oversight Committee summoned Hunter Biden, Devon Archer, Tony Bobulinski, and Jason Galanis. Devon Archer and Hunter Biden did not participate. And the Democrats also invited Lev Parnas, a former Rudy Giuliani associate. I spoke with Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia, and they were both very critical of the credibility of the Republican witnesses. Let's listen to what they had to say.
The Republican majority has launched an impeachment inquiry in the United States based on information that was sourced from an individual that was collaborating with a Russian asset.
The Republican witnesses, we have someone that's, in my opinion, a disgraced business person and someone from federal prison. So I think that tells you a lot about how the hearing is going to go. There's been no evidence to support any sort of link between the president and Hunter Biden.
It's very interesting because the Democratic witness, Lev Parnas, was also convicted in 2022 for conspiring to funnel foreign money into political campaigns. Steve, I also spoke with the other side of the aisle, Republican Congressman Mike Waltz and Republican Congressman Eric Burleson, and they were very clear in today's goals and the credibility of the witnesses. Let's listen to what the Republican side had to say.
We can't find anybody that he worked with that is not a good actor. I mean, he was doing business with some of the most corrupt individuals in the world.
I think get out on the public record what has been going on with a sophisticated, complex, deliberately on their part, difficult to understand so that they could obfuscate corruption ring.
I also spoke with Congressman Tim Burchett, a Republican, and he expects a vote soon on whether or not to recommend articles of impeachment against President Biden. Let's listen to what Tim Burchett, a Republican congressman, had to say.
Democrats are accusing that today's witnesses are felons or have criminal past and that they're not viable witnesses. Do you have any response to that?
No. Look, the only reason that the Bidens aren't in that category is they're Bidens.
So the hearing is still ongoing. They're right now on a recess for voting. The congressmen are now voting on the House floor and will resume the hearing. But it remains to be seen if after this hearing, Republicans will bring articles of impeachment against President Biden. Steve.
Louise Martinez reporting live from Capitol Hill. Thank you, Louise. And Republican Congressman Clay Higgins of Louisiana is a member of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee. We caught up with him shortly after that hearing at Capitol Hill. Congressman Clay Higgins, thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Congressman, in your opinion today, how did the hearing go, and do you think that there was enough proof to link Joe Biden to his son Hunter's business dealings?
Well, the hearing did not go well for the Biden family. I think that it would probably have been better for the Democrats and for Hunter Biden and for Joe Biden if Hunter had appeared today. As he asked for public testimony, we provided him a format whereby he could speak freely and include and respond to many sort of leading softball Democrat questions. So we gave him that opportunity. He didn't show up today. And that is telling to the amount of evidence you asked, was sufficient evidence shown today. I think today was an opportunity to highlight some of the evidence through a couple of very effective witnesses, especially Mr. Bobulinski. I believe he comes across as a gentleman to be believed. Today was an opportunity to just ask solid questions reflective of the evidence that we have harvested and documented through suspicious activity reports generated by many banks, large, very sophisticated banking operations, bank records, emails, text messages, eyewitness testimony, sworn deposition testimony, and open hearings like today. So my summary would be that the evidence is daunting against the Biden family. They were certainly involved in international sale of access to Joe Biden, the politician.
You mentioned the Democrats' line of questioning, opening up the forum to them. Were you surprised to see that a lot of the Democrats weren't so much interested in anything about Hunter or President Biden, but were more interested in President Trump and his son-in-law?
Yeah, that's their mantra, attack Trump. And that's, of course, that's a cornerstone of the efforts of establishment politicians and mainstream media. And politicians on both sides of the aisle that want to continue to grow the government and in doing so cripple the future of our republic. And those politicians that want to continue to feed the military-industrial complex with wars across the world and feed conflict, that those elected officials and the industries that they represent, they oppose Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is an America First president and will be again. I believe he'll be reelected again and inaugurated next year. So the Democrats are desperate to oppose that reality in any way. And today's hearing was just another example of rather than pursuing truth of the matter before our Oversight Committee, which is legitimately investigating very significant evidence of criminal or unethical or in some cases, one would argue impeachable evidence against the now President of the United States, the former Vice President of the United States, always a long-time senator since these relationships evolved overseas. So the Democrats had an opportunity today to ask solid questions of the witnesses that presented themselves and to review some of the evidence and to legitimately oppose it. But they did not, because there's really no argument against this evidence. It's bank records, man. Everyone knows that banks don't produce Republican records or Democrat records. They just produce records. It's arithmetic, it's documentations of exchanges of money.
Congressman Clay Higgins, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
The Chinese Communist Party's forced organ harvesting of innocent prisoners of conscience. That was the topic of a panel discussion today on Capitol Hill. This as Utah became the latest state to outlaw insurance coverage for organ transplant surgeries in China and other countries known for forced organ harvesting. NTD's Jack Bradley has the story.
Addressing the Chinese Communist Party's forced organ harvesting of Chinese people. Today, the Congressional Executive Commission on China addressing one of China's darkest secrets, the non-consensual forced organ harvesting of religious believers like practitioners of Falun Gong.
We continue to build the case against the Chinese Communist Party that they are exploiting young men and women, average age 28, thousands of them every single year who are killed to get their organs. Many are Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, other political and religious prisoners.
This is horrifying, and it should horrify anyone, whether you're here in the United States or back in China. It is truly the wholesale rounding up of individuals of a persecuted class so that they can make, as we heard today, potentially millions of dollars off of organs harvested.
The panel discussed how the Chinese regime's forced organ harvesting was specifically designed to suppress Falun Gong. Falun Gong, or Falun Dafa, is a spiritual practice based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. In 1999, there were reportedly 100 million people practicing in China, a number that surpasses the membership of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese regime launched its persecution that year and targeted Falun Gong practitioners for organ harvesting because they maintain a healthy lifestyle and don't drink or smoke.
What you have is this massive transplant infrastructure hand in hand with the incarceration of Falun Gong, which is almost 2 million at one point, very briefly in 2001. And then it kind of slows down to about 1 million to 500,000 at any given time. In every province in China, you see a transplant hospital go up. Every single one.
Probably lots of Americans are desperate because their waiting period is so long in the United States for the organs to receive. But going to China, you just have to think of it, you know. Somebody will be killed on demand.
We can't do anything about the supply of stolen organs, but what we can do is choke off the payment for those organs.
We have to stop CCP that dominating, that, you know, this is innocent people's organs, that we really have to stop it. But I am just so frustrated. We've been known this issue for last 30 years. And we really have to do something more than just the hearing here. But the whole world, we have to work together to stop these horrific things.
The movement to oppose the Chinese regime's forced organ harvesting continues as more doctors and politicians step up to oppose these crimes against humanity. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.